It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, First up, 10 observations.
Just took his guy and just boom, put him right on the ground.
It's First and 10.
Well, you know where we're going to have to start, and that is at the quarterback position.
Number 1.
Fundamentally, nothing has changed. The prospect moving forward is still the absolute same that it has been. If there's a quarterback in the upcoming 2024 NFL draft that you are able to take that you think is going to be better than Sam Howell, and especially demonstratively better than Sam Howell, you should take that quarterback. However, what is happening before our eyes right now is the bar for better than Sam Howell is dropping through the floor. And I think this is something that we are going to spend weeks and weeks trying to unwind and unfurl as people start to talk and say more after the season. Stories will inevitably come out, people talking behind the scenes, willing to say things they weren't willing to say during the season about the choices that Eric Bieniemy and Ron Rivera have made about how they have employed Sam Howell this season. However, right now, within the context of what we're looking at, Sam is playing horrendous football. And are there things from a play calling and a game plan standpoint that I wish were different? Sure. But at the end of the day, and by the way, has he had some bad luck? Yeah. But he's just playing bad ball. And we're on a month straight of this. And at some point, you have to take a look at all of the factors and you go, okay, well, that's still true and that hasn't changed and I don't like this. And you know, the thing that I've been screaming about since they were winning football games, which is a long time ago, about not running enough and putting too much on his plate. All those things may still be true, but you evaluate Sam's play within the context of like, okay, what are they asking him to do? Does he do it? And he doesn't remotely come close to doing the things that he should be. Seeing things quickly, making accurate throws, getting the ball out of his hands, staying in the pocket when he's supposed to, leaving when he's not. Like, he's just, he's doing basically everything wrong right now. And then the things he does right, sometimes he hits some bad luck. And, you know, you throw a ball across the middle to Curtis Samuel, who's one-on-one with the linebacker on a choice route. Curtis falls, and the ball goes right to the linebacker. That's not on Sam, as the last pass that he ultimately threw on Sunday. But it is indicative of the type of stuff that he's been doing the last bunch of weeks. He can't seem to make or do the right thing. So I do think when you talk about moving forward, there's a discussion to be had about if you risk a top 3 on a quarterback you're not sure of, right? Like, let's say you know Sam's not your guy and you're going to take a quarterback, but if you don't think that if Jaden Daniels or whoever winds up being QB3, or let's say that even somehow the Cardinals win out and you wind up at the second pick and you have the chance to take Drake May, if you don't like Drake May, don't take him. Especially if you think Olu Fashanu or Marvin Harrison Jr. or whoever else you could get there is a Hall of Famer. You have ammo to trade back into the back end of the first round, or Bo Nix or Michael Penix or one of the guys later on the draft board to fall to you. And so you can be, like, you should take the best player and hope that there is someone in the tier when you get on the board that is a quarterback. But for right now, and we'll spend months talking about that, but Howell looks fundamentally broken. And I think the sacks definitely had a cumulative effect. You just look in his eyes and it doesn't look the same as earlier in the year. He looks shell-shocked. He looks like a young man who has no confidence. And when you're trying to regain confidence, things like what happened to him early in that game where Curtis Samuel has a drop and then he hits Logan Thomas in the hands, the face mask, and the ball ricochets up and it gets picked, your confidence is going to go right back to hell if it ever escaped in the first place. And I think one of the things that's worth pointing out is, like, earlier in the year, Sam was extremely resilient. He'd make mistakes, bad things would happen, he'd take sacks, and he'd get right back up, and he'd go out and make plays. And he never looked like he was guessing. He always had confidence. But even resilient people can only be resilient for so long. You just get worn down and worn down and worn down. And eventually you become a part of the problem, even if you didn't necessarily start there, or it was understood that you would start there because you're young. This offensive line, for instance, isn't good. But when we tell you all year that it's far closer to average than it is horrible, and Jacoby comes in and it looks very different. Like, this is why. Like, you watch Sam vacate clean pocket after clean pocket, and you're just like, man, where are you going? One of the early plays, I don't think it was the Logan Thomas pick because that was a design rollout. But, like, one of the early plays where he almost gets picked again on a third down, like, he rolls out and gets blasted, and he had no business leaving the pocket. It was fine. It was clean. There was no pressure. And so he is definitely shook right now. He is definitely not in a good place. And I don't know that there's a lot you can do with that. For instance, the play calling in the game against the Jets.
Number 2.
A good example of, like, there's good and there's bad, right? And I don't know if you're EB what you're supposed to do. Third drive of the game. So you're now down 10-0 because you've had terrible things happen on the first 2 drives. But even the first drive, right? They try to get an easy completion. It doesn't work. Samuel drop. They roll out. Okay. You hit Logan Thomas in the face mask and the ball gets picked. That's not on EB. Third drive of the game. They got to get him a completion. He's got multiple incompletions on the second drive. So what do? They throw a screen to Curtis Samuel. Great. First down. They run the ball. They get a decent gain. They run it again. Love it. They get a big gain. Chris Rodriguez breaks a couple tackles and gets up the sideline. Then you have a drop by John Bates. Sam drops back again on second down and throws to nowhere. Is pass intended for Byron Pringle, who is covered. And then he gets pressured on what would probably be a completion to Curtis Samuel on a double move, but Andrew Wiley gets smoked around the edge. And, like, if you're EB, I can criticize you and say, like, hey, why don't you just keep running it? Or why are you calling all these double moves on 3rd and 7, all these long developing routes and not giving Sam more outlets underneath? But if you can't trust your tight ends to catch the football and you can't trust your quarterback to check it down, I don't know what you do. Because then on the next drive, they go screen again, first down, excellent. Run, gets a moderate gain. They get a quick game completion. Now it's 3rd and 3, and they run a shallow cross to Terry McLaurin, and he gets hit early. They don't call PI, and you punt again. Like, in this game, I think EB did a somewhat better job than he has done all year, with not necessarily all year, but, like, it kind of shows you the predicament, right? I would run the football more. I would do more of the screen game, more of the design stuff, less the decision making, but it's not like they do none of it. Like, and I think that's why when Jacoby gets into the game, the offense starts to flow, is because some of the quick games, some of the, hey, look downfield. If it's not there, immediately check it down. Like, get the ball out. Don't extend plays by running out of the pocket. Extend plays by getting the ball to a check down quickly. Like, that stuff starts to happen with Brissett, and then it allows you to get more into the run game and get to some of the play action stuff, get in better places. And I just wonder if some of that is going to be, Brissett sees over the line better, like all the stuff that we've kind of hinted at all year as potential issues when this stuff has popped up. Like, is it that? Or is Sam shaken? Is he fundamentally broken? And that's what we're going to have to talk about, this next GM is going to have to evaluate is this kid fundamentally broken? Or is this kid shaken so bad this year that an offseason will be able to fix it in a new system that doesn't put nearly as much on him and far more plays to his strengths and the things that he does well. However, that gets us to the last thing we'll do in this first part of First and 10.
Number 3.
Which is that Jacoby Brissett should start next week. I have no reservations. I have no doubt about this. I think that Jacoby should start week 17 and Sam should start week 18. Almost no matter how it goes for Jacoby. If Jacoby goes out and plays great, like, sorry, man, you knew what you signed up for. We want to give Sam one more start. But if Jacoby that's a more complicated discussion. If Jacoby plays average or plays poorly, then it's pretty easy to go back to Sam. But Sam needs a week off. Like, he needs to fully shut it down, fully reset. This Niners defense is incredibly tough. Not that Dallas isn't. But if he plays again, you can't bench him again and ever go back to him until next season. So he's done. He's straight up done. If you do it in the last game against Dallas, he's done, but who cares? The season is over. No longer your problem. No longer his problem, frankly. I mean, it is, because the next regime is far less likely to pick up on him. But I think that given 2 games left, given the way things have gone, given how Jacoby has played, you owe it to Jacoby, you owe it to the offense, and frankly, for his own safety, you owe it to Sam to take him off the field right now. He's not in a space. I'm not saying like he's weak or soft mentally or anything like that. Like mentally, he can't process it right now. He can't do the job right now. He needs a hard, cold reset. And so give it to him. I would not start Sam Howell next week. Ron Rivera declined to name a starter today. We'll talk about that more coming up. And obviously tomorrow, probably at his 4 o'clock press conference on our show, he will reveal who the starter is against San Francisco.
Number 4.
I have watched this football team closely since 2015, and that first half is about as bad of a first half of football as I've ever seen. And I've seen some bad ones. I've seen some bad ones specifically in that stadium. Think back to some of the Giants Commanders games back in the day, end of season. Everyone's just ready to be done. I've seen some really bad ball, but offense, defense, special teams failing that spectacularly in succession to the point that you're down 27-7 to the Jets at halftime. A Jets team that had scored like no offensive touchdowns in the first quarter all year. I think it was literally like 1. And you gave them like 6 possessions in the first quarter. It was insane. That first quarter took forever. And it was all basically the Commanders' fault. And it's interesting because you think that there can't be more new lows for this organization. And yet we continue to find them.
Number 5.
All right. The run game continues to remain effective, and this would be my one huge gripe with Bieniemy in all of this. I don't know what his aversion to success is, especially for a guy that played running back in the league. Like Rodriguez was averaging almost 6 yards a carry for nearly the entire game. Gibson had a bunch of plays that he turned -3 into 1. His average yards after contact had to be 4 or 5 yards in this game. He continues to find slither ways, and Rodriguez rolled his ankle late in this game, and Gibson might have to just be the starter next week. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe he'll actually get the football. One of your most talented players. It is wild to me that they cannot find ways to just consistently get guys carries that are being successful. I don't. And when I say find guys carries, I mean call run plays. I don't need to be coy. Like for a quarterback that was struggling, for an offense that was doing well when they were running it, why the aversion to doing a thing that is working, that doesn't have the risk of your quarterback having to quarterback when he is incapable of quarterbacking? I don't get it.
Number 6.
Number 6 in our first and 10 observations from the game on Sunday. Benjamin St-Juste to me is like the Sam Howell of this defense. I don't think he's actually as bad as he has shown this season, specifically recently, but it's clear he is walking on a razor's edge from a confidence standpoint this season, and he keeps cutting himself onto that razor, and the season can't come to an end fast enough for him. Now, he is hurt. Perhaps he will not play this weekend. We do not know yet, but some of the PI calls, I actually feel bad because some of the penalties that were called on him were pretty soft. And I feel like the reputation calls, because everybody is picking on Benjamin St-Juste every week, and there are penalties called him every week. Some of them are legit, some of them are soft. But it is clear like he's not up to this task. Quit putting him on Garrett Wilson. Quit putting him on the best receivers in football. He can't do it. And at some point, it becomes not about the player, but about the coaching staff. But I also do wonder next year with better coaching, after he had Brett Wieselmeyer coaching him for much of this year, who was good enough to get fired, all due respect, is he better? I think from a physical ability standpoint, he's shown he can be better than this. But the defense pitches a shutout in the second half until that very end, large part without him. And it's because the Jets and everyone else loves to pick on him. So quit exposing him. And also, by the way, Emmanuel Forbes played all right. Ron in the press conference today was like, oh, he still made some mistakes, still some, whatever. From a production standpoint, he had a hell of a lot better game than Benjamin St-Juste. And I hate that for BSJ because he's a great kid. But Emmanuel Forbes is your first round pick. Benjamin St. Juste is getting murdered. Make the freaking switch, Ron. What did Emmanuel Forbes do to Ron Rivera? I don't get it.
Number 7.
That said, the defense has continued to play better since Rivera took over. They have been faster, more physical, and they've actually done this crazy thing called generate turnovers. The Cody Barton pick is fantastic. The biggest mistake Rivera made this year, arguably, is not replacing Jack Del Rio with himself sooner. Yesterday, they played actually pretty well. They were a victim of circumstance. The Jets snapped the ball in their own territory, most of which inside the red zone for basically every play until the fourth drive of the game. They had another short field off the final interception from Howell. They had multiple short fields because of special teams. Like, they got no help yesterday and were able to hold on, but still, they give up an explosive play in the run game. They give up a couple of drives to a Jets offense that is abysmal. But they ultimately played 90 snaps yesterday. Like, PFF counted it out for 90 snaps. What NFL defense can hold up over 90 snaps? By the way, they actually did hold up because they were better late than they were early. But good gracious, that was terrible. Speaking of terrible,
number 8.
That is the worst special teams game I've seen an NFL team play in my entire life. Literally my entire life. In the first half yesterday, they gave up a blocked punt. They fumbled a kickoff. It was a muff by Pringle. He recovered it, but it cost them mega field position. They had the Crowder whoopsie-daisy fumble-rooski play. You had the illegal touch to give up extra field position by Christian Holmes, which is just a mindless play. They get off the field, the defense does, holds up in a major situation, 4th and 3. Tariq Castro-Fields jumps off sides as a gunner. What? You're supposed to run backwards. I know you want to get a good jam, but what? Never seen that before. Gives up a first down. Jets score on that drive. And they also, all of that is in the first half, and then they had some more penalties and issues in the second half. Joke of special teams. That unit has been largely good all year. Yesterday, nightmare.
Number 9.
The Jets had a 3rd and 28, a 2nd and 40, committed 14 penalties and won. There's no analysis there. That's just a statement of fact. That is a thing that happened yesterday, or on Sunday. The Jets had a 3rd and 28, a 2nd and 40 on separate drives. 3rd and 28, 2nd and 40, committed, I believe it wound up being 14 penalties, and they won the football game.
Number 10.
And they won in part because Ron Rivera still just refuses to math the math when it comes to game management. They score to go down 7 to go down 7. They decide to kick an extra point to go down 6 instead of going for 2 and being down 5. Now, why is that important? Because with about 10 minutes left in the game, it is perfectly feasible that the Jets would get another field goal. So if you're down 6, well, then you can... if you're down 6 and the Jets kick a field goal, you're down 9. That's bad. If the Jets... Or if you're down 5 and the Jets kick a field goal, you're down 8. Well, now it's one score. Or if you score again and you get the 2-point conversion, then after you get the first one, you could be up 3 and prevent, a game-winning field goal. That's exactly what happened to you. And the downside is if you miss the first 2-point conversion, you're still down 7. So you're only down 1 touchdown and extra point. You can either kick the extra point and go to overtime, or you can try a 2-point conversion should you score like they did, and you could win the football game. So all in all, terrible decision-making from Ron Rivera. They could have, if they just tried 2-point conversions, had 30, been tied. But all in all, I'm not mad about it because better draft position. And more proof that Ron Rivera is not up to the game management part of being an NFL head coach, something that has been true for his entire NFL head coaching career. That is 1st and 10 here on the Hoffman Show. Amidst the beeps, amidst the audios, we fought through it. We finished strong because that is what we do.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.